Kia ora whanau. We're here with the two leading contributors to the Sapp platform, which hopefully you've signed up to. And as I'm less involved in adding plants, I'm going to pretend to be the interviewer today. And just really kind of do a bit of a questionnaire of what it's been like managing Sapp, adding plants, and just hearing people's responses. So hopefully some of your feedback makes it into this conversation. So Klaus, what did you feel was the biggest challenge to compiling Sapp and making it work the way that you imagined it?
Well, long nights on the computer. But at the same time, I really enjoyed it to really tunnel into the species compilation, because all of those, most of the species that entered, I had experienced over the 4 decades that I'm involved with Syntropic and Permaculture. So a lot of them for me have become kind of like close friends. And I have observed them in all different contexts. So yeah, it really drove me to just sit down and put them in the framework that finally I had to bring them all together, just all in one place that I normally had spread over 20 books and different parts of my brain. So now they're all sitting in one place. And then getting the feedback from other people, yeah, sometimes that's challenging because they come with a different viewpoint, and then I have to look at it and, oh yeah, maybe they're right. And so we find a compromise how we put that then into the database. And of course there's no right and wrong, and yeah, but finding a way that makes it still user friendly and distilled to the essential. So we don't want to bring it into essay format, we want to bring it into a haiku format, and so we want to be to the point, so there's not too much to read, but that the user gets all the information they need to make their own, design their own food forest, and how to manage it as well. It's not just about design, it's about how you manage those plants as well.
Having watched you spend countless hours uploading images, sorting out the ins and outs, countless calls with Toon, who's our partner in based out of the Netherlands, but he travels with his family from Illyworks. What do you feel like is the biggest legacy that that you've kind of created by launching Sapp? Like, what do you think its biggest effect is going to be for people on our platform and other people who are signing up, who see these ads that we're putting out there? What do you feel like, what's the biggest effect that it's going to have for people?
Well, ultimately, it's about empowering people to be able to interpret the language of the land in a way that they can apply themselves to regenerate and use plants and seed plants as family members, as people that we can be a part of. And I feel like a lot of the content and information out there on plants is geared towards extraction and towards horticultural and cultivation kind of monocultural systems, which in a regenerative world just don't apply, and we often struggle to find the information of how plants behave naturally in their natural ecosystems, and then also how to integrate it into a cropping system, but without relying on external inputs and fertilizers and chemicals and sprays. So Sapp is basically it's like an interactive book that I'm so proud to have been a part of putting Klaus's knowledge out there in a way that people can interact with it. Already the feedback we've gotten of how much it's helped people, from experts to beginners to people that haven't even heard about Syntropic at all, has been really motivating. And to work with Toon on this as well as another family man is also really heartwarming, because it's something that we're putting out for everyone, also for ourselves, and for the revenue earned to facilitate further regeneration and to support 2 families living really holistically with the earth. Just feels really good.
In terms of Sapp being a universal tool, which is a play that we've tried to put in. So we obviously had an option to make this only for New Zealand, and it would have been a lot easier. So we made a play for it to be for the whole world, roughly. What would you think are some of the potential shortcomings or issues that people encounter, and that you've seen people use it in certain ways that maybe they're not getting the results that you would like for them? And what would be your advice for people to understand more the function of the filters, which is the prime body, the mind behind Sapp is really the filters. That's the core principle. So selecting plants out based on certain conditions. So what would be your advice to people using Sapp and how to make it work the best for them? So, they've got a site, it's got XYZ different situations, and they want to be able to have a usable range of plants. What would be your advice for that?
Well, first of all, the way plants are filtered on Sapp, we have to box them into certain categories, and that's always a hard one. So when people use the filters, they might sometimes be a bit too harsh, and therefore get a smaller selection, and then feel, oh, there are not many plants that I can use for that strata and that lifespan on my site. So the thing would be to first be open and then narrow it down as you go along. But the thing is, because we're international, we use a lot of plants that in some countries would be considered weeds. And we don't like the distinction between plants being useful and plants being weeds, because that's a very biased view anyway. So we want to cross the boundary and present every plant that we put in there as a helper to bring that particular land condition to its best. And that's where some of the so-called weeds come in. And we also show how you can manage those weeds within the context without having to resort to herbicides and so on. So it is also a weed manager, if you want to call it like that. But above all, I see Sapp as a learning tool. So as you use it, you play around with it, approach it like a child approaches a video game. You just play with it and you learn how it ticks, and just be curious about what it can do and where you find what information, and then actually see it as a learning tool. Because the biggest problem of humans I see now is something that some people call plant blindness. It means you look at vegetation and you can't identify individual plants. And I think Sapp is a brilliant tool to cure anybody from that if they apply that. So they can look at the landscape and they can see patterns of families appearing, patterns of plants reappearing in similar sites. So Sapp gives you a framework to learn all of those things, and the information is precise. It's the essence of what you need to know when you work in permaculture and syntropy, or regeneration, landscaping, conservation, all these sort of areas, to open your eyes to the patterns that the soil is telling you. So a learning tool, that's what it is mostly for me. Still for me.
And if I can add something to that as well, because one feedback we received on that topic was someone that lived on a really windy, exposed site, and they used a lot of the filters to say, yep, windy, clay, exposed space, and pretty much no plants came up other than kind of weeds and acacias and things like that. And they're like, well, if I can grow abundant food forests everywhere, how come those plants aren't coming up for me? And that's where understanding that it's a syntropic agroforestry tool, in the sense that we're using these plants to reach that level of abundance. So yeah, your site at that moment isn't able to hold the abundant level of production plants like citruses and nuts and fruits and things. It is only able to withstand those plants because it's naked, exposed site. Same as the space that we have here. When Klaus first started here, it was weed-ridden, kikuyu, clay, slope. We couldn't come here with bananas and everything we have in now, but through using the plants that are able to handle that situation. So through Sapp being like, okay, this is what I've got, this is the plants that are coming up now. Okay, I can plant these plants and use them to create a wind shelter, to regenerate the soil, to get out of kikuyu, and then you can come in with the next level of plants, and you don't have to tick wind exposed anymore. You don't have to tick really hard clay soil. You can start unticking some of those boxes, and that opens up more plant options. So working with the filter system in a dynamic and fluid way, it's not a fixed box system that you're going to have forever. As your soil improves, as your site improves through using syntropic practices, more and more plants are available to you, and Sapp is still there to help you find exactly those spots. You might have a wetter spot or a little microclimate. You can, use Sapp within those spaces as well to create and open up options for you that you may not have thought of. And yeah, again, how to manage them as well, which is really important.
So obviously the name Sapp is Syntropic, Agroforestry and Permaculture Planner. So Klaus, I wanted to maybe ask you in what way you think the use of Sapp might be different or the same between specifically Syntropy and permaculture, which obviously there's a lot of crossover, and Syntropy folds into permaculture more than permaculture folds into Syntropy. But could you break down some thoughts that come out from that question in terms of what you think this tool offers specifically to permaculture that it offers differently to Syntropy, if that's a question you can answer?
Well, Syntropy is essentially a very valuable tool that should go into the toolbox of every permaculture designer, teacher and practitioner. Just like natural farming or all these sort of things that end up in the permaculture framework. Now, what you see nowadays often on YouTube is tree lines on fairly flat land that are planted up using syntropic principles and also managed like that. So that's cool. Now, if you are on a site that is a bit more varied, then the permaculture site preparation can help you a lot. Like you can put in the swales, the terraces, the sun traps, and you read the landscape for these microsites. So when people talk about a design for a food forest, you are unlikely finding yourself on a totally flat surface, or the whole area is wind exposed or wind sheltered or frost free or free draining. There's so many variations usually within each landscape. Unless you're on a flat volcanic or alluvial plain, you find the challenges varying from maybe 1 square meter to the other. Now, when you are going out planting, you need to read that and then understand that your pattern layout that you had so meticulously planned as a design suddenly runs into difficulties, or if you stick to it, you will have problems. So you need to go out there with your plants, dig a hole and look at the soil there and the slope there and the wind there. All of those sort of things you need to consider. So each step you do, you come up with a pattern in itself almost, because you have to take all of that into consideration. And then your design is never static. So you might come back a year later, 2 years later, even so you thought you planted out everything in the first year and it's all sussed for the lifespan and strata for all these plants, you will run into surprises. So we find here over the 2 decades that we are implementing this food forest, that yes, we had this initial design idea, but nevertheless every year we have to take some plants out, put new ones in, something didn't work, or we suddenly get plants that we hadn't access to before. So we are constantly redesigning or adjusting or retuning our food forest, and that is where Sapp is very helpful, because there is, for instance, a filter that says can be established in shade. So when you have an established food forest and you open it up and you know there's some density lacking, we hadn't foreseen some plants might die on you or don't do as you thought they would do, then you can put these members in and they can establish within that existing food forest. So that's a very important filter, for instance. And that makes Sapp different from a lot of other websites that give you these sort of plant guidances, and that's why I think Sapp is very specific to permaculture, that is trying to understand more and more how to go into syntropy. Yeah, these little nuances and the way it can be made visual through the plant manager that is included in the program.
Actually, I'll ask you another question following up that before I ask Frida one. I wanted to ask, is there anything like Sapp out there? And if there is, in what way is it different? And why would you say that people should get onto Sapp instead of those other ones?
Well, it is a paid platform. There are some good websites out there that are donation based, and that's great. It's fantastic, and they did some really good work. Now, we are not trying to compete with that, and we reduced the amount of plants that we added to the program, not because we got lazy in the end or so. It's because we want to keep it to the most essential plants. We don't want to create an encyclopedia of plants that can be used in permaculture. We want it to be usable within the context of the plant manager. And we want people to get an understanding of the most essential plants that we have figured out over the years and that other people working in similar projects have figured out. So our platform is paid for. It means we don't have to put advertising into the platform. It makes it much more smooth to use. And it also helps us to update it and to have an ongoing help from our partner who is doing the coding, that when there are issues, we can fix them quickly because we're actually getting paid for these things. So, and then also due to Frida's input with the visuals, she is a collage artist, and she put it into really appealing, beautiful framework that makes it a joy to use. So I've seen all sort of websites doing similar things, but I think Sapp is standing out for all of those reasons.
So one real important connection I'm wanting to establish here is the people who are, let's say, on the A rung of knowledge, and maybe I place you guys, or specifically maybe Klaus more on the XYZ, and Frida maybe more on the W's. I'm probably more down at the F's or G's. So if we're trying to connect these people who feel like they don't know enough to start and it feels a bit overwhelming, I would like you to kind of almost like word picture a process of how you would start it. And I think a really nice way to do that is, for anyone who's out there who doesn't know, Frida, my amazing sister, is launching a business called Treeborn. And I'll let her speak more to it, but the essence of it is to connect children, newborns and slightly older with land stewardship, so being connected with the land, with growing things. And so if you use that, the approach that you would go through having a client, talking to them, establishing the fenor, the food forest that you would do for them, how would you use Sapp? And would it be, as someone who's further back on the learning curve, a tool that you would feel intuitively connects you to understanding how to lay out this community of plants, and the ins and outs of that process and how you go about it. And also, obviously, feel free to plug yourself and your business here.
Thanks, Josh. Yeah, I feel like Sapp encompasses a wide range of experiences, like Josh said, from beginners to total experienced people. I know, Klaus, you use it a lot for yourself. Even though you've put the content in, you're still nice reminders. I definitely use it a lot, and there's a lot of really, total beginners on there. And, we do admit that with any new thing you learn, there's a lot of jargon that comes with it. So there is that, you know, when you go into Sapp, you are faced with a whole load of different words. What's accumulation? What's emergent strata? Yeah, that's all I can think of at the moment. But there's a lot of, you know, terminology on there, life cycles, all those things, and in what context those words mean. You know, in permaculture, some of those words mean differently to Syntropy, and so we've had to find like a balance of, you know, how to merge those words into a similar meaning. So there is a lot to absorb there, but thanks to, like Klaus said, thanks to being able to be in partnership with Toon, who's a really amazing coder, who's really passionate himself as a regenerator and is a land-based practitioner as well, he's able to transition the coding to the usability of Sapp as well in the context of what, you know, beginners would want to approach the information with. So all the terminology has little information buttons, so you can kind of expand it, and there's definitions there, so it becomes an interactive tool that you can find the plants, but it's also a learning experience, a way to understand the jargon. So if you want to feel self-empowered, if you want to just start getting into Syntropy and permaculture, it's a great way to just start exploring the site, learning the different phrases, the different terminology, and it's all there for you to do that. On the onset it might seem daunting, you might be out of your depth, but we've laid it out in a way that you have access to all of those definitions. We have a really comprehensive reference guide that unpacks all the different filters and how to apply them to different situations and what they mean and how we've categorized them. We also have different videos on there that unpack different concepts of Syntropy and how they apply in real life. And we are in the process of also doing little mini courses, so we can kind of start leading people, handhold people a little bit more through that journey. But already with what's on there, if you're a beginner, it is definitely a space that you're welcome in and you can be empowered by. Perhaps not an 8-year-old, but definitely as a family, if you have children, it's something you can definitely do with them. And as a consultant or someone that facilitates people through doing something on the land, I'd say just start out with what you know of your land. You know, go out there, dig a hole, explore what kind of soil you have, what kind of wind conditions you have, select some filters, read the definitions on them, and from there just start compiling and collaging the world around you in a new language that may seem daunting, but it's one of those things that I think when you know it, you feel like you've always known it. And that's something I live by as truth, that when that happens.
So as you can see, whānau, we're not very good at promoting ourselves, so I'm just going to encourage Frida once again to try and plug herself. So when you have someone who wants to approach you about one of the things that you offer, I'll let you explain all that. Can you just show us what it is that you offer with Treeborn and how you Sapp to figure all that out, just to bring it home.
Okay, just to spiral out before I come in, I just want to say that it's been really awesome to see how much Syntropy has grown over in New Zealand and internationally, and the different livelihoods that it's enabled to support. Through Sapp, through just the Syntropic network as a whole, to see the different ventures and ideas out there of how to facilitate people to regenerate is really amazing. And one of the ways I'm doing it as a slightly independent venture of PermaDynamics is to connect children with the earth by planting a food forest that belongs just to them. So I encourage family to bring in a bit of sentiment, so there's some kind of like sentimental attachment and sense of belonging for the children of that to that space, whether it might be planting your child's placenta, it could be their first haircut, it could be something, a tree that they really love, something that ties in that heart space, that love for the land. Maybe it's an apple tree because your child really likes apples, but choosing that tree that is relevant to the site and the location, of course, and then from there planting a sort of hex ring of trees that support that plant, that come in and out of succession, producing different foods at different times. So how I use Sapp and Treeborn working with clients is, work my way down life cycles. So I starting with the climax trees that are going to be there the longest, filling in those spaces in strata, to make sure that when the food forest is at a 40-year cycle, we have enough density in that life cycle, and then I would go down the life cycles. Same again, ensuring that every layer has a diversity of plants occupying that space. And I find the manager really useful for this because you can actually set the properties based on the site conditions. So any plant that comes up in these categories is fitted to the situation. So you're not going to get a climax tree in your annual category. You're not going to get a emergent tree in your low strata category. So it really helps to orientate oneself if we're not so familiar with, what plants like. It also helps to, in general, only have plants come up for your sites. Yeah, so the manager basically helps to really hone in on what plants are available to what situation. And yeah, obviously it's not a one size fit all. There's outliers, there's needs to be adjustability in that, nuances within your own space to adjust to, but as a blueprint it's a really good place to start from, to go with, to really improve your forest. So over the growth of your child, the forest is growing as well, nourishing and nurturing them through all the stages of life, different produce coming into production over different years. The tree that they planted when they were little is now, hanging with a swing. It's a space that evolves with them, that they can call home, that they can belong to, and therefore have that love for nature. And I feel like if we have that, then I don't feel like we can be mean or cruel to other aspects of our world, and we have a deeper sense of care for what supports us. So I think being able to gift that to our children at a young age, brings more love into the world. So that's what Treeborn is about.
Thanks, beautiful words, Rita. So Klaus, with Sapp existing now, let's time travel it back 40 years or 20 years. Do you think it would have shortcutted your learning process dramatically? A little bit, not at all? And how do you think that would have changed your experience of your food forest that you've managed now for the last couple of decades?
Well, when I was working in agroforestry in South America, with this massive diversity, and I had to learn it really fast. I had to create all sort of different frameworks for my understanding, and some of it was visual frameworking with families of the species. That is already the first step of learning about them. And then also always making some sort of a plant database for myself. I would constantly add information to it. Now Sapp is so much easier to put information in for me and to manage it and all these sort of things. And the thing is, here on our side, over 20 years that we are developing this food forest here, we have accumulated north of 300 species that we consciously work with, that we recognize where they are. Some of them I could find in the dark. And we have, of course, several of each species. So keeping that all going in your mind is, it's easy to forget. And then you look back at Sapp, you know, oh, why did I forget about that one? I wanted that. Oh, okay, next time it's in seed, I need to collect it and bring it here. That would be fantastic in that place, in that strata. And now 300 species for a site, it looks a lot, and it is a lot. And it doesn't mean that everybody needs so many. But even if you're just talking about 50 or 100 species, which you would easily accumulate in any decent food forest, your memory about how to manage them and all of their characteristics starting to fade. So having this reminder by going through, looking at the photos of each ones and looking how they are in different categories is incredibly helpful. And then also with the new family function to actually see how they correspond to other species within that family is incredibly valuable to just learn about plants as if your life depends on it, because our lives depend on learning about plants. So yeah, it's a fantastic tool, and for me it's very valuable. Even so, as Frida said, I put the information in there, but it's still a valuable tool for me nevertheless. So I can't imagine anyone who wouldn't find value in using the tool.
So let's say everyone who watches this video, both on YouTube and on our platform, eventually signs up, and it snowballs and it gets as big as we hope it can get. What do you envision it becoming in the next 5 years? A platform that holds what? Do you have any ideas, Frida?
Well, I mean, how we started was wanting to create a tool that we will use. So we already succeeded in some ways. It's like it's a useful tool. Whoever jumps on or not, it's out there and it's a really beautiful tool we're proud of. The more people that jump on is supporting our family, which a lot of you have been following and know us to be really integral in where we put our energy, where we put our time and our resources, and what we strive to build, which is constant regeneration and sharing that and educating others to be able to do the same. So I feel like as Sapp grows, with whatever revenue that generates, we're able to do more and more towards our community, internationally and locally, to promote these kind of systems and these ways of life. So yeah, I think, and also of course with the passion and the skill of Toon, it's been really helpful to have that excitement. Like we often call, because he's obviously on the other side of the world, so it'll be an early morning or a nighttime call with him, and we just get really excited about how we can improve it and how we can make it even more user-friendly and better, and integrate even more aspects to things, who else we can kind of incorporate into the space that has really amazing experiences and knowledge as well, and how to support them as well. So yeah, it just feels like a growing family, both of plants and people, and it's something we're really excited about. I don't think I necessarily have an end goal or like something I want to reach, because we've already reached it. It's out there. Where it goes from now is just in flow with whoever jumps on, and our excitement for making it even better, really. And maybe Klaus can speak to this a bit better, but I'll just mention it as well. We acknowledge that a lot of the knowledge and experience of Syntropic and permaculture is rooted back to Indigenous peoples of the land, that have applied this level of integrity and knowledge to the land for eons, before Syntropic and permaculture was even a term. So we're passionate about acknowledging that, and also being able to support and flow some of that revenue off to support communities that are in danger and exploited currently, and how we can acknowledge their knowledge and support them financially to protect their lands. So that's another aspect of Sapp that we're really passionate about, to support them.
Yeah, how I see Sapp developing. So first of all, I hope that anyone who wants to regeneratively manage any type of vegetation can learn from that, how to do it in a successful way, cost-effective, regenerative, sustainable, and become their own consultant. Yeah, and because if you learn how to do these things on your own land, I don't think there's any consultant that can do better on that. And then I can see Sapp being used in schools as a learning tool and as a remedy against plant blindness from quite early age, engaging young students, children with the surroundings. So when they walk through a forest, when they drive along a roadside, they can read the landscape, understand individual plants, their role in that particular ecosystem, and yeah, opens another eye to the landscape. And then, yeah, as Frida said, I see it also as a part of Sapp is also a fundraiser for Survival International, who is helping indigenous people, sometimes even uncontacted tribes around the world, so they can stay on their food forest that they have been living in harmony with for thousands of years, and they maintain the right to stay there. That is very important to us too. And so, yeah, part of it is also a fundraiser, and I hope that it will get so popular that there will be some money going to these people as well, because we have drawn from their knowledge. So, yes, it is a lot of my experience that came through working with those plants, but I have also learned a lot from indigenous people in South America, and they have shared their knowledge generously with me. I acknowledge that, and I want to help indigenous people around the world to be able to work their land the way they have done before, if they want to do so. So.
Thanks, guys. That's really great thoughts, and I think we're going to wrap it up here. It's getting a little bit cold and windy here. We've got this incredibly changeable weather, which is very fitting for an equinox period. And just want to wrap it up by saying the subscription for Sapp is, when you break it down per week, is basically a cup of coffee, as they always say. Or to look at another way, it's only 3 or 4 heirloom plants that you buy in a pot. And by using Sapp, those plants are less likely to die on you. So definitely check it out, get on it, and it's going to help you a lot. And of course, remember, it's a growing platform. We are there to hear your problems with it, any issues and concerns you have with the plant maybe not being where you think it should be in your particular situation. We're totally on board with understanding that and discussing that, and just helping everyone out there to basically grow the best, most healthy and resilient food forests that our climate could wish for. So yeah, before I wrap completely up, my favorite podcaster always finishes his podcast by saying, is there a question I haven't asked that you wish I had asked? And what is that question? Answer it. So I'll start with Frida, or maybe I'll start with Klaus.
Give me some more time to think.
Maybe one question that people have, because we have heard some platforms, people are worried on enrolling because they're worried it might be hard to cancel again. Our platform is very easy to cancel if you actually want to do that. But I hope that you will find it so valuable that you keep on going on it, because there's no reason, I think, for you to quit.
Going off that promotional angle, one question you haven't asked is where to actually find Sapp, which is www.sapp.earth. If you want to find us there and log on. And also, is Sapp relevant to you if you're in a temperate climate? Because a lot of Syntropic agroforestry has come out of a more tropical climate, Brazil in particular, and it can be quite overwhelming to feel like everything is geared towards papayas and bananas and all the things that you may not be able to grow if you're in a temperate zone. And so yes, Sapp is relevant to you wherever you are in the world. Obviously there is perhaps less plants available. As we grow with the database, we're adding more and more for different climate zones. The temperate side of things is a little bit less, but there's definitely enough for you to get out there with the essential plants to start regenerating and looking at your landscape differently and being able to interact with it. So yeah, by all means, wherever you are in the world, it is applicable to you. And if there are plants missing that you want to put on there, either add them yourself, and we know then, what plants to prioritize, or let us know and we will also prioritize them. So this is a growing space. that is very much led by this community. So if you see something missing, whether it's a plant or a feature, let us know.
All right, thanks very much, and that's how we do it.